Chivalry. The word itself conjures images of honor, mercy, and noble sacrifice. It was the sacred code that separated the knight from the common soldier, a set of divine rules for a martial life. It was their greatest source of pride. But what if it was also their greatest weakness? What if this beautiful code of conduct was in reality a recipe for disaster on the battlefield? In this video, we will argue that chivalry did not ennoble the knight, it doomed him. We will explore how the very rules they lived by became the chains that dragged them to their defeat, proving that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is your own belief system. Part 1. The arrogance of mercy. A core tenet of chivalry was the concept of mercy and ransom. A knight was expected to spare the life of another noble opponent, capturing him instead to be ransomed for a great sum. This was a gentleman's agreement among the elite. It ensured that warfare for them was a relatively low-risk affair. But this code had a dark and hypocritical underside. This mercy was extended only to their own class. Common foot soldiers, archers, pikemen, peasants were not considered worthy of such courtesies. Knights would slaughter them without a second thought. This created a fatal arrogance. The knightly class came to see battle as a game played amongst themselves, where the commoners were merely disposable pawns. They could not conceive that these same pawns could ever pose a real threat. This mindset left them strategically blind and utterly unprepared for a new kind of enemy who did not play by their exclusive rules. An enemy who saw a knight not as a valuable ransom, but simply as a target to be eliminated. Part 2. The hunger for glory. Chivalry placed an immense value on personal glory. The greatest honor was to be found at the very front of the battle, in the vanguard leading the first charge. Every knight craved the renown that came from being the first to break the enemy line. While this fostered individual bravery, it was catastrophic for military discipline. Time and time again, French knightly armies were defeated because their obsession with personal glory led to chaos. At battles like Crécy and Agincourt, the knights refused to listen to a central command. Eager to win honor for themselves, different groups of nobles would launch premature, uncoordinated, and egotistical charges. They would get in each other's way, disrupt their own battle formations, and exhaust themselves before ever reaching the main enemy line. Their code of honor actively worked against the concept of a disciplined, unified army. They were a team of superstars who refused to play as a team, and they were systematically dismantled by less noble but far more disciplined opponents. Part 3. The business of ransom. The practice of ransoming noble prisoners started as a rule of mercy, but it quickly evolved into the primary business of war. The potential wealth from capturing a single high-ranking duke or earl could be life-changing. This turned many knights from soldiers into glorified bounty hunters. Their focus shifted from the strategic objective of winning the battle to the financial objective of capturing a high-value target. A knight might hesitate to deliver a killing blow to a powerful enemy, hoping instead to take him alive. He might abandon his position in the battle line to chase after a richly dressed noble, leaving a dangerous gap for the enemy to exploit. The entire battlefield became a marketplace, and the commodity was captured noblemen. This economic incentive, born from a chivalric custom, further eroded military effectiveness. The army's overall goal was often sacrificed for the personal greed of its individual members. But the most fatal flaw of chivalry was not its hypocrisy or its greed. It was its inability to adapt to a world that no longer respected its rules. This cultural blindness would lead to one of the most devastating crusades in history. Part 4. The Last Honorable Charge. The Battle of Nicopolis, 1396. In 1396, a massive and magnificent army of European knights, led by the flower of French and Hungarian nobility, embarked on a great crusade against the Ottoman Empire. They were supremely confident, an all-star team of the greatest warriors in Christendom, clad in the finest armor. The Ottoman army under Sultan Bayezid Thmalna was a different kind of force. It was a disciplined professional army composed of various troops, including the elite Janissary infantry and Sipahi cavalry. They did not follow the Code of Chivalry. They fought to win. Ignoring the strategic advice of their more cautious Hungarian allies, the French knights insisted on leading the battle with a glorious unsupported cavalry charge. They wanted all the honor for themselves. They charged uphill full of chivalric arrogance directly at the Ottoman lines. The result was a catastrophe. The charge was slowed by sharpened stakes hidden on the battlefield. The knights were then showered with arrows by Ottoman archers. Exhausted and disorganized, they finally reached the main line, only to be met and slaughtered by the disciplined Janissaries and Sipahis. What happened next shocked the European world. The Ottomans did not play the ransom game. Sultan Bayezid, enraged by the night's earlier massacre of prisoners, ordered the execution of several thousand captured knights and nobles. They were systematically beheaded. Nicopolis was a brutal lesson. The knights had brought their code of honor to a knife fight, and they were annihilated. They had expected a gentleman's war against an enemy who played by entirely different, more ruthless rules. Their belief system, their very identity, had led them directly into a trap from which there was no honorable escape. So was chivalry a noble code, or was it a beautiful failure? In the end, it was both. It created moments of incredible bravery and artistry, but it also fostered a fatal arrogance, a crippling lack of discipline, and a blindness to the changing realities of the world. The knight's greatest enemy was not the longbow, the pike, or the gun. It was his own outdated belief system. He was trapped by his own rules. The very code that was meant to make him a perfect warrior ultimately made him an ineffective one. This story of how a powerful ideology can fail to adapt is a timeless one. If you believe these deep dives into the why of history are important, show your support for our channel by hitting the like button. And to continue this journey to the very end of the Knightly Age, subscribe to the Knight's Journey and ring the notification bell. Because history teaches us that a beautiful set of rules is useless when your opponent has decided to play a completely different game.